Tonight's tale is about a man who kills himself every single night, and every night he wakes up in hell. By morning, at exactly 7:12, he's alive again in his bed, but each time, the shadows come a little closer. Welcome back to the channel. Now, let's begin. The man who dies every night. Every night, he kills himself. And every night, he wakes up in hell, but by morning, he's always back in his bed, whole, alive, trapped in a cycle he cannot break. This is his story. It started on a Tuesday night, a night like any other. The apartment was quiet, except for the sound of the pipes rattling in the walls. He had been drinking just enough to feel warm in the face but cold everywhere else, and for reasons he couldn't fully explain. He walked into the kitchen, picked up a knife, and drew it across his wrist. The pain was immediate, the warmth was shocking, his vision tunneled, then went dark. But when he opened his eyes, he wasn't in his apartment anymore. He was standing barefoot on a plain of black ash. The ground burned but left no mark on his skin. The sky was red like dried blood, and from the horizon, shadows gathered, watching, whispering. He screamed, he begged, he ran, but the horizon stretched forever. Then, just as the shadows reached for him, he woke up in his bed. Sheets clean, skin unbroken, alarm clock flashing 7:12 a.m. The second night, he thought it was a dream. This time, he swallowed a bottle of pills. And again, darkness. And again, the wasteland. But the plane was different now. The ash had turned to cracked glass. Every step cut his feet, yet there was no blood. He heard voices, faint at first, then louder. His father's voice, his mother's, friends he hadn't spoken to in years. They weren't calling his name. They were repeating his thoughts, his darkest, most private thoughts. When he tried to cover his ears, the voices only grew louder, like they were inside his skull. Then he woke again, back in his bed, 7:12 a.m. By the third night, he realized it wasn't just coincidence. Every time he died, he went there. And every morning, he came back. Weeks passed. Every night, a new death. Every night, a new version of hell. Sometimes, he wandered deserts where shadows knelt in rows, chanting in languages he almost understood. Sometimes, he stood on bridges made of teeth, stretching over rivers of molten iron. Sometimes, he found himself in a house, his childhood home, but every door opened onto a different memory. Each one perfect, each one warm, each one crumbled to ash the second he stepped inside. The faces always returned, horizon wide, featureless, but always watching. And every night, they came closer. One night, he wasn't alone. A man stood on the edge of a river that glowed like mercury. The man wore no uniform, no face he could clearly see. He was just there. The stranger held out small objects like offerings. A bowl containing a single orange. A photograph of someone the man didn't recognize. A pair of socks, neatly folded. Each time he reached for them, the items melted away like wax. "Who are you?" he asked. The figure only tilted its head. "This is where the unfinished comes for review," the man finally said. "You keep signing the same page." And then he vanished. It wasn't just at night anymore. By day, things began to bleed through. At work, he heard faint whispers behind him. He turned, but no one was there. In the shower, the water sometimes ran black, thick as ink, only to return to clear when he blinked. He found notes in his phone, short phrases, questions typed in his own style, but ones he had no memory of writing. Why again? What answer? You can stop. Worst of all, he began forgetting his own name. Sometimes, when someone called to him, it took too long to respond, like he was borrowing his own identity. One night, he found a child sitting in the wasteland, a little girl, hair tangled, holding a coin in her lap. She looked up at him with clear eyes and asked, "Why do you keep doing it?" He laughed bitterly, because I thought the other side would answer me. "What answer?" she asked, and he tried to explain about the weight, the loneliness, the way life itself felt like unfinished business. But the words stuck. The girl only nodded and handed him the coin. "You can stop," she whispered, "not by leaving, by staying." Then she was gone. The next night, he tried something new. He didn't kill himself. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the pull, the hunger, the gravity that always dragged him back to hell. And it came. His chest tightened, his throat closed. He could almost feel the pain under his feet. But he held on. He breathed. And then he woke. 7:12 a.m., still alive. It didn't work every night. Sometimes he failed. Sometimes he gave in. Sometimes he still woke in the wasteland with the caretaker waiting at the river. But other nights he resisted, and the hell grew thinner. The voices are weaker. Now every night is a gamble. Some nights he dies and walks the endless plain. Some nights he stays. But he knows one thing for certain. The cycle is not broken. It's only delayed. One night, maybe tonight. He won't wake up at 7:12. He'll stay in hell forever. And when that happens, the shadows won't be watching anymore. They'll be waiting. And that's where our story ends. Or maybe where it begins for you. If you made it to the end, leave a like so I know you survived. Subscribe before the whispers slip through your walls. And share this story so others know what waits in the dark. Thank you for listening. And whatever you do tonight, don't close your eyes too quickly, because if you do, you may not open them again.